there's tremendous talent. And if that was also directed with the ambition to apply it to these larger efforts, it really resonates with me on a strong way there. What do you hear, if anything, from what I just said?
I feel that I'm feeling into the pain a little bit around around the journey when you want to influence something and you feel that you might not have the power to do it. The self-doubt and the doubt that the world can change and that others will hear you, that the vulnerable, beautiful people of the world can make a difference in changing things that are currently controlled by fiercely intelligent, seemingly evil people. And it's a really painful experience. And I went through that for a long time, feeling like there wasn't anything I could do that could make a big enough change. And so why try? It's just so real for people. It was really real for me. And I still have doubts sometimes too.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that in. So would you mind just sharing a little bit here? I'm curious about your journey with that pain, right? I'm curious about your journey and the way you navigated that, or you are navigating it. It seems like there's still parts of it that are still real for you. So would you mind just sharing a little bit of like your story around that pain? There's something in here where I'm just deeply curious.
Sure. I learned about climate change when I was in first grade. And there didn't seem to be any clear solutions at the time. It was just, we're in this situation, it's really bad. When you get older, here's what you can probably expect. And no one else around me was really interested in taking action or thought that anything could be done about it. It was just these overwhelming entities, the fossil fuel industry and all the powers that be were in control, and we had no voice. So I get older. I've always known that I wanted to work in the climate field. I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. In the meantime, I was an outlier in a bunch of other ways. I didn't have many friends. I was part of the emo subculture. I listened to metal music and I got into tons of trouble all the time. And then when I went to college, I was like, okay, I gotta kind of figure out my path here. Like, what am I gonna do with all of this passion I feel for the climate crisis and where we're moving as a species? And so I went with politics, because that seemed to be the realm where things were really happening, and where I could have control. I told myself, I'm gonna be a martyr and I'm gonna work so hard and I'm gonna be miserable and dedicate my life to fighting this climate crisis for humanity, which was a little naive looking back, but I still feel a lot of love for that person who thought she needed to have it all on her shoulders and felt like no one else was really listening or willing to give of themselves in that way. Through that process, I learned about a lot of injustices in the world, that the climate crisis wasn't going to be felt the same through different populations, that the global south would suffer so much more, that there was a debt that really needed to be paid for the global north, exploiting fossil fuel resources, industrializing, and the global south really bearing the brunt of the climate crisis and the pollution coming from these fossil fuels. So anyway, I get into climate justice specifically. I find my place in the policy realm. I become self-conscious in having a job where I really want people to see me as competent and smart. And then that's where the pain really comes in. Can I really make a difference. I'm willing to do all that I need to do, but am I smart enough? Does anyone care? Has this all just been tried before? Is it a losing battle? And there were a lot of cases where I proved that myself wrong, and I was able to initiate and educate and connect to other people and get bills passed and work on implementation of climate laws. And now I find myself here where I want to bring others into the process of policymaking, and I want it to be a creative, fulfilling process and not a boring, bland, overly technical for no reason process.
And that was really, really beautiful here. It was really beautiful, and the components of it that really struck me. So I'm listening to both what you say, but more like I have conversations on multiple levels, and I'd say multiple dimensions, really. And what really gets me is that how you be as you say it. What flew through for me was the amount of compassion that you have, like not just the capacity of, but that it feels that you bring with you here. I feel the compassion you had for yourself. I feel the amount of compassion you have for others. I feel like and again, going back to like the compassion you have for yourself as you are having compassion for others, like, that feels